So, you're staring at a blank page. The cursor is just blinking at you, and that familiar wave of academic writing anxiety is starting to wash over you, right? We've all been there. But before you type a single word, you've got to ask yourself, do you actually know the fundamental difference between the two main types of research papers you may be trying to write? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to definitively decode the differences between literature reviews and technical papers. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which document you're creating. And trust me, that's going to save you an incredible amount of time, energy, and, let's be honest, frustration. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We're going from the two distinct paths of research straight through to their core purposes, structures, and data requirements before looking at a real-world space engineering example and wrapping up with a winning strategy. All right, jumping right in with Section 1, two paths of research. Let's think about this as the map versus the expedition. The absolute easiest way to wrap your head around these two formats is with a really simple metaphor. Writing a literature review paper is basically like mapping the known territory. Your job is analysis and synthesis. You're organizing what others have already discovered. But on the flip side, a technical paper, that's about leading an expedition into the totally unknown. It's defined by original innovation and bringing brand new experimental results to the table. Moving right along to Section 2, the core purpose. Let's look at the exact questions these papers answer. It's actually really fascinating how the fundamental questions they tackle completely diverge. The literature review always looks backward. It asks what's already been done, what are the strengths and weaknesses of current methods, and crucially, what are the gaps that remain. The technical paper, though, is entirely forward-looking. It asks, what new method or system did we develop? How does it actually work? And hey, does it outperform existing approaches? Next up, Section 3, Structure and Anatomy. This is all about building the actual paper. So because their goals are so wildly different, their actual structural anatomy has to reflect that. A literature review structure moves from an intro and background directly into reviewing existing methods. Then you transition into comparison and discussion, identify those research gaps, and wrap up. Your entire focus here is organizing themes. You're going to rely heavily on taxonomy diagrams, comparison tables, and trend summaries. But in stark contrast, just look at the anatomy of a technical paper. After the intro and a really brief nod to related work, the bulk of your paper revolves entirely around what you did, your methodology, your system or model design, and your own experiments and results. You aren't plotting trend summaries here. This kind of paper demands architecture diagrams, flowcharts, and hard performance plots. Let's slide into Section 4, Data and Writing Style. Let's see how the evidence and your tone of voice shift. The evidence requirements here are literally night and day. A lit review generally contains almost zero original experimental data. The data is the body of published papers you're reviewing, maybe visualized through survey stats or conceptual frameworks. But a technical paper, that absolutely demands original experiments. You've got to bring the data sets, the simulations, the implementation details, and rigorous quantitative evaluation to actually prove your new method works. And this really illustrates the specific tone of voice you need to adopt for a literature review. Look at the language. Several studies have explored, or a major limitation in current work is, it's a highly analytical, comparative writing style. You're synthesizing the existing literature, kind of standing above it all to evaluate the entire landscape. On the flip side, the technical paper uses a super methodological tone, focused strictly on the implementation and results of your specific expedition. You're going to be writing things like, we propose, or the algorithm was tested using, and experimental results demonstrate. It is incredibly direct, focusing purely on the mechanics and the outcomes of your original work. All right, let's ground this in reality with Section 5, Space Engineering in Action. To make these abstract concepts perfectly clear, let's see how both paper types handled the exact same research topic. Imagine you're researching how unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, use artificial intelligence to navigate autonomously and monitor bushfires. Just look at how the titles change here. The literature review would be something like a survey of AI-based autonomous navigation methods. Here, you're just comparing existing SLAM methods and sensor fusion techniques without inventing a single thing. But the technical paper, that's titled A Reinforcement Learning Path Planning Algorithm. For this one, you have to roll up your sleeves, develop a brand new algorithm, run the simulations, and provide fresh performance evaluations. Finally, let's pull it all together in Section 6, the winning strategy. This is basically your cheat code. Consider this matrix your ultimate cheat sheet. It perfectly summarizes all the fundamental shifts we've talked about today. The Lit Review's goal is reviewing existing work, focusing on what others did, using a comparative style and taxonomy figures. Meanwhile, the technical paper presents new work, focusing on what you did, using a methodological style and architecture diagrams. But here is the absolute biggest secret in academia, the real cheat code. These aren't just separate tracks you have to pick between. In practice, many of the strongest research projects actually treat this as a sequence. They start by mapping the territory, writing a comprehensive literature review paper to find the exact gaps. And then, armed with that map, they launch the expedition, writing a technical paper to fill those exact gaps. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think back to that blank page waiting for you. Ask yourself right now, which stage is your current project actually in? Are you mapping the territory by organizing what others did? Or are you launching the expedition to prove what you did? Once you know the answer to that, trust me, the words will finally start to flow.